You become cultured and you have taste when you have exposure. That's a bad situation because, like, with all the tariffs.
How clean and uncut are these metals made in the USA, baby?
Superior power, right? Present yourself as an alpha male. You're actually sort of a beta. Effectively all like tech content, I mean, it's interesting. Like, inherently people who build great things or invest in great things are interesting people, but they all sort of follow the same construct of like topics they discuss. And you never really get into thinking or like musing about like Silicon Valley at large and sort of like the ecosystem that we're all contributing to and like what that brings out in like terms of our personalities. And I think like there should be like some form of like content where like people dig into that. It's almost similar to like okay, what I envision is like, you know, Alex Cooper, Call Your Daddy.
Yeah.
She's like dressed in sweats and they're like sitting on a couch and then they're like talking about like life, but also just like how people behave in like social constructs. Like, I feel like that'd be so interesting. There's this, I think it was a Don Valentine quote, but he basically said like in the Valley, the set is the same, but the cast changes. And what I think he means by that is that like every 5 to 10 years, right, there's like a new set of oncomers to the Valley who all have big dreams. Like, for example, it might have been Patrick Collison when he was younger. And then there's like a few people in the Valley who hold like superior power, right? One could claim that this is like Teal, like I guess the Collison brothers now, etc. And I feel like this newcomer like class to the Valley is all trying to like vie for one or a few of these people to sort of anoint them with power and say like, hey, you are like the chosen child to like build X startup. And so even if you look at like Michael Truell from Cursor, he sort of looks like Patrick Collison, you know? And like, it's like every 5 to 10 years, like the Valley wants to anoint like this young prodigy founder type. And then everyone else is like vying for that spot. So it becomes an interesting dynamic because there's all of these typically like young boys who come to the Valley, right? And in normal like social settings that aren't the Valley, like I guess young men who are like looking for purpose or meaning, I don't know, they might be religious, they might like look up to God, they might look up to like various types of figures in their community. But in the Valley, it's all like one or two people and they're all typically men. And so there becomes this like construct of like alpha beta males of like, okay, like you as an aspiring founder try to present yourself as an alpha male to get anointed to this position, but you're actually sort of a beta because you're worshiping another person who you view as an alpha male, but they're not a god. And so that leads to all of these weird constructs, and this like ties into like how people behave with each other, like why founders are like typically emotionally immature, or like, you know, why a lot of women complain about dating in San Francisco. And so it's like no one talks about this stuff, but it's like so fascinating to me.
This is unbelievably true. It's like the amount of glazing that happens towards just older men in power in Silicon Valley is insane. One of the things that's commonly pushed in the Valley is this idea of being contrarian. But there are certain ways in which people will never choose to be contrarian. One of which, ironically, is dropping out of doing the Teal Fellows. So you got the Teal Fellowship when you were at Stanford. How do you make the bold decision to not drop out?
So this was 2017, and I was working on a company at the time. I was tracking space debris collisions with satellites. And, you know, at the time, no one was really dropping out. Like, it was still like a very like tough thing to do. And I think in my year, maybe one person dropped out freshman year to work on some gaming thing. And I think people were like pretty shocked by it. And I remember like they had, I think our first month of freshman year, like all the parents came together or something. And it was like a controversial thing because I think this person's parents were like talking to everyone. They're like, oh my God, my kid just dropped out. I don't know what to do. And it was like, everyone was freaking out. And so, I mean, like, yes, like I think retrospectively, it does look quite contrarian. I think like in the moment, I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'd come to school to study physics. Like, I thought I was going to go into academia. And then I was working on something that was extremely technical. And most of the people I was talking to and selling into, like, I was taking in data from the DoD, were these like really old white guys. And here I was, this is like 18-year-old like Asian girl. And I was like, okay, I just need as many like stamps of legitimacy as I can get. There was like an angle in which I was like talking to like satellite insurance people. And so I was like, okay, like being in school and like being affiliated with the research lab would actually help me. But it was also like, yeah, like I think up until that point, everyone.
And that project was the Intel ISEF 50 grand prize one that you did?
That's right.
Super cool. What was that experience like?
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about ISEF. I don't think a lot of people know that this is like one of the nerdiest things that you can do. It's basically like Nerd Olympiad.
It is Nerd
with
Olympiad.
summer camp vibes.
Yeah, exactly. ISEF was an interesting experience. I'd say it like completely changed my life, and it also was like just a cornerstone of like my identity in high school.
ISEF kids were crazy.
I know.
How do you feel about the way software is impacting the real world?
Yeah.
And given everything that's happening in AI, are you more excited to invest in software that impacts our virtual worlds or things that perhaps might impact our like real worlds again?
That's a good question. So it's really funny that you asked this question and also frame it this way, because I actually almost started another company last year. This was before I joined Lightspeed. And the premise of it was trying to build like a new age ANSYS, which is like the leading simulation software tool today. And basically the thought I had was that typically, right, when you're doing fluid dynamic simulations, which is the area I wanted to start in, and this has like tailwinds with like Nike, for example, who does extensive fluid dynamic simulations on their running shoes to make sure they're like aerodynamic, and like satellites that are like going up into launch. Like everything requires extensive simulations. And today it's a very slow process, because what you're doing is you're essentially solving a bunch of partial differential equations like sequentially. And that is mathematically intensive, computationally intensive, and the software to do it all basically runs on like your local desktop. And so there's been a number of companies throughout the years that I've like talked about, can we bring like these extensive like simulations to the cloud? Can we like try to like optimize like our like computational sort of distribution of how you're solving these problems? And there's a lot of interesting applications. There's like a bunch of new research around like physics inspired neural nets, which is like, can you basically take a bunch of data of these like past simulations that have been run to mechanical designs, and then train a model on that, and then have a model basically predict like simulation.
So this is the most interesting coffee I've had. It is.
Wow.
How do you, what is this?
So it's an espresso tonic water espresso with brown sugar syrup, and then the signature whipped cream of Andytown.
It's like fizzy and cold, but still like has this like rich coffee thing, but latte at the same time. It's very good.
I'm glad you like it.
This is like way more contrarian than any startup. This is sick. All right, let's get caffeinated and get back to work.
Let's do it.